Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Charmed. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Obviously, the Charmed ones are kind of in a bit of a tailspin because they are on the losing side of things, because obviously Mel is trying to get their powers back. Macy is going out with Harry trying to save witches, but sadly that's not the case. They haven't been able to save anyone. The person they saved last episode, it's the only person they've saved. It's just another name on the list of someone they couldn't save, and now it's just the hardship of life because they're not all out there kicking butt together, because it's just kind of on Macy because she's the only one with powers, plus Harry's powers are on the fritz. So, but Harry and Mel end up going through doing astral projection thing, which immediately makes me think of like Prue, because Prue was the one with that astral projection ability. I don't remember she ever used it the way they used it, because it doesn't seem like it's just an outright ability you can do. It's just more like a meditation type of thing, of like it's kind of like a spell you have to basically do. So Harry, Mel, and Katrina, she's meant to be their human anchor to the astral plane, which is interesting, which I did like aesthetically how it looked when they first got there. It almost looked like they were inside a painting, and just aesthetically how it looked. And there's like ghosts around, and then they met the Sentinel. It's actually kind of a lonely existence that the elders gave him, because basically it's like, oh, like if his children and his wife got sick, and it's like, hey, if you save my children, the elders came and was like, hey, we'll save your wife and child, but you have to be our sentinel. So basically he has to exist here in that, that almost in between place for souls, where it's just kind of like souls, you can see them but you can't interact with them. So meeting Harry and Mel was kind of the most exciting thing, because it's like, oh my god, someone I can actually interact with. But it's like, hey, I'm gonna give you your powers back. And which I'm wondering, are they going to circle back to that? Because even he's like, the only way I can leave here is with the elders. But now that they're all gone, there's no ever leaving here for me. So my mind is immediately, when it's all said and done, the Charmed ones will probably have the opportunity to free him. I'm granted, will not necessarily be a good thing, I'd assume, but we'll see what that ends up being. I wonder what it's, being a Sentinel fully entail, because he has access to a whole bunch of knowledge and stuff like that, but still part of me wonders, like, what does that mean if he did come back to Earth? Like, would he keep any of the powers he has as a Sentinel? Would he go back to being a human? Would he rapidly age and die, kind of like Harry did when he was no longer a White Lighter? I'm wondering if it's going to be like a similar thing or something completely different. Whatever the case may be, he ends up giving them their powers back, and it's like, oh yeah, there is going to be consequences for it. In life or death, you can't escape consequences. There are consequences for everything. So they go back, they both got their powers, and it's like, oh, it's all good. And then, Katrina and Mel, and it's like, oh, yeah, I like that. Because I'm like, all right, you need a little happy, you deserve something for yourself, Mel. So I'm like, oh, that's good. But then you start making out, and then worms start falling everywhere, and it's like, what the hell is going on? So it's like, these are the consequences. So it's the thing of being trapped between, like, okay, this is more of the elders' test and stuff like that, which is like, man, that shows you how sadistic they are. It's like, okay, the torment of one person, or do you want to keep your powers, which can be used to save so many lives? But then Mel figures out it's all a test. This whole choice in itself is the test, because it's all a test. So they basically, like, almost like shocking yourself awake from a dream. They both jump from the roof, and lo and behold, they pass the test. So they do come back, but they still don't have their powers, And the Sentinel, like I said, it's interesting because the Sentinel was like, oh, come back anytime. So I guess we might be seeing him from time to time, maybe, whatever the case may be. He gives them something that can basically help them translate the Book of Elders, which I didn't recognize that. That's so interesting. Because once again, dude, it's like no Book of Shadows, only the Book of Elders now. So that's interesting, which that in itself, I think that's how you get around upgrading it, which is kind of neat when you actually think about it, because it's like, I don't think that ever came up where it's like, oh, they ran out of spells in the Book of Shadows. I don't think that ever came up in the original show. But I just think about, like, oh, you get the Book of Elders now, an upgrade, access to magic more powerful than, healing magic, dangerous magic, so the full scope of everything. So, but what was interesting though is we see that Katrina, like, she opened the register and saw worms. So it's like, okay. So I wonder, is that just based on a fear thing? Is that like, is she afraid of like worms, or is that like what is that? And is that, I guess being the anchor to someone doing astral projection kind of backlashes on you as the, maybe it's just because she was the anchor, or is it because in this circumstances she's a human that, you know, putting your soul in that position just kind of, maybe it does something to you. So it seems like she might be tormented, or maybe that's supposed to be a precursor to something else. Maybe it's not like maybe it's something magic related, or maybe it's supposed to be like, oh, maybe she just naturally sees things. I don't know. I mean, she's on that Wiccan level of things anyway, so maybe that's something else there. Like, I don't know. I'm very interested to see, because I chalked that up to being like, oh, there are consequences for doing what she did. So whether they continue or not, like, the more often she's used as an anchor, the more, and maybe the more frequent stuff like that happens, the bigger the consequences. So I think even though that was all, you know, part of the test of them coming back, even though that was all fake, maybe what he said was still true about the whole consequence thing. I don't know. We'll ultimately have to wait and see in that regard, but I just thought that was kind of fascinating. So on top of that, there's everything with Maggie this episode, because she's going for an assistant manager job, because it's like, yeah, because we've been stealing supplies and stuff like that so much that they're having to keep it so that no one, just because you have a job here doesn't mean you have a key card to this particular area. So Maggie has to go out for the assistant manager job. I was almost thinking she was suggesting that Mel get the job. That's what I thought, but she's like, no, I can totally get it, which she has to go up against Jordan, and, you know, there's a little bit of fiery competition there. I thought was kind of pretty neat. But then Maggie actually looks at his resume. It's like, oh, you were in the military. And for her, it's like, it's sus, because like I have to go up against a guy who's actually got an awesome resume. He's actually pretty, you know, kind of a pretty cool dude. He's kind of, you know, so, but using a little magic, you know, I mean, she needed to get this job so that they could keep access to the safe space and have access to the command center. But, you know, and I think what happened with Mel and Harry about the whole conversation of consequences applies in many different regards. In one particular regard, it's in Maggie's case, that because she got this job position, Jordan has to close down his gym, because for one, he's trying to pay for law school, you know, but he has to close it down because he can't pay for the rent there. So it's like, yeah, you got the job and you're helping out, you know, it's like you're doing, like, in a sense that, hey, you know, this is for the greater good, but at the same time, it's like you kind of screwed over Jordan, and it's like, oh, and she actually kind of likes him, so she kind of feels bad. I was wondering, I think we'll see something come about that later on, where she'll try and get him a position where it's like, maybe you can make the argument, maybe she'll try and cut him a little slack and like, oh, the rent's going to be, well, I don't know, she doesn't necessarily have that much pull, because she's just the assistant manager, so it's not like she has that pull, so it's not like she can necessarily do something for him. I mean, maybe it'll be a situation though, she, you know, gives him a little magical help, but whatever the case may be, you know, she, you know, consequences, you know. So I thought that was kind of interesting. On top of all that, there's, you know, Macy's need to kind of save people because they've already lost so many people. It's just kind of like, no, even if I have to do this alone, I'm going to go save someone. So she meets someone with, her name's Abigail, which I was like, why does Abigail look so familiar? I'm blanking on the actress's name. I feel so bad, but I recognize her from Shannara Chronicles. It's been a while. I don't remember her character's name. It was like either Amberly or Amberlynn. I want to say it was Amberlynn, but it's, like I said, it's been so long, which I really like the Shannara Chronicles. I'm so bummed it only got 2 seasons, but regardless, I was like, oh my god, that's where I recognize you from. Because I remembered she had a British accent, but I knew in the show she used an American accent. But regardless, like I said, I'm going on a bit of a tangent. But the moment that happened, I was like, oh, this is suspicious. I was like, because the fact is, she was like, oh, you're the charmed ones. I was like, I heard rumors and stuff. I was like, that's BS. No, because like, how many people have you saved? You saved one witch. How could that one witch have already spread around the fact is that you're the charmed ones? Everyone's under the impression you're dead. I'm sure, including every other witch, every other magical creature out there thinks you're dead. The only ones who know you're still alive are demons. And I mean, they found out last episode. So I thought that was kind of fascinating. I immediately was like, yep, she's not. It's like, oh, don't get too close to Abigail because she's not. But it's like, oh, she does know some witch stuff, but maybe she's lying. But then she touches the Book of Elders, which Macy had touched earlier and got flown back. So it doesn't resonate with demons. So it's like, oh, so she totally is a demon. It's like, wait. I'm a half demon, half witch like you. I'm like, oh. Now this is an interesting development because Macy's always kind of been alone. And now it's like, okay, so Or to be fair, it's like this is our third half one, because Jada was like half witch, half white lighter. Now we've got two half witches, half demons. So that was kind of fascinating. And Abigail brought out the fact is she was never welcome in the witch world because of her demon side. She was never welcomed in the demon world because of her witch side. Or did I just repeat myself? Regardless, you get what I'm trying to say. I halfway kind of whatever. But nevertheless, the guy that shows up that she's like, oh, he's got a green ring or whatever. And part of me is like, oh, is it? I thought the twist was going to be like, oh, it's the dude that looks like Harry. He's actually the Overlord. I was like, is that what that's all going to be about? But it's like, no, it's one of the demons they met last episode. He shows up looking for Abigail. I'm like, oh. I was like, he's not an Overlord. There's no way. That dude's kind of a grunt demon. He's not an Overlord. And lo and behold, they work together and end up killing him. But before he dies, he's like, it's you. I'm like, so it is her. I kept thinking like it would make sense in a way that she would be the Overlord because she's half witch, because she's half demon and all that. I'm like, okay. So I was like, that's really interesting. I was like, I guess because you represent both sides like that, it kind of puts you in a position that no other demon can be in, because it's like, oh. Which is also interesting because she has telekinetic abilities like Macy, which I didn't even think about. Well, because it almost looked like it was telekinesis, but it almost looked like it was something else when she first attacked that demon that was attacking him earlier. So I was like, huh. I should have figured something else was up too, because she noticed that Macy, she didn't say anything about Macy using fire, but I guess maybe fire doesn't immediately make you think, oh, demon. I don't know. It makes you wonder about that whole situation. I was very suspicious of it. I even thought it was interesting because like the moment she saw Harry, she was like, huh. Like it's almost like she recognized Harry, but it's like she didn't say anything. So it's like I was like, oh, so are you working with the other Harry, or like what's that all about? But then, Macy's like, yeah, oh, you want to go somewhere? I thought she was going to attack Macy because she had the knife and everything. So I was like, oh, so I was like, oh, you're about to leave somewhere. I guess you decided not to. I'm like, I'm wondering what that's all about. But then it's like, oh no, like, Macy's like, no, something doesn't seem right. He said it's you. And it's like, oh, he would have said anything to stay alive. And then it's like, okay. So they end up struggling, and it's like, wait, what's going on? And then it's like, they both have a mark from being attacked by the other Harry, which makes you wonder, did she never actually see the other Harry's face, or has she seen it? Is that why she was kind of confused? Because it's like, oh, you're not that dude. Or maybe she could tell, maybe she couldn't. Like I said, it depends on, are they the only ones that have seen his face? So it's like, oh, we were both attacked by the same thing or person or whatever. Which, okay, so that entire situation gets my mind immediately running through different scenarios. Okay, so whoever he is, maybe he actually is the Overlord or something like that. I doubt it. My mind is like, okay, so she's the Overlord, but she's being hunted by this dude. I'm thinking he's trying to find, maybe it's kind of that thing of like, kind of like how the Parker fit the role of needing to be the host for the source because he was half human, half demon, which I almost left Parker off that list as well. That's quite a few halfies. I feel like we never had that many half people in the original series. I feel like I remember there being another half human, half white lighter that Paige met. I feel like that was the case, but I don't remember. So I'm like, that's 4 people who are half one thing, half another. So I think that's kind of interesting. That might be a big element this season. Maybe not. We'll kind of have to see on that front. Because, I mean, the fact is Jada and Parker might not ever pop up again, So that's why I'm like, so. But it's just interesting because we got, I don't know, it's just interesting. Just like I said, Jada's situation and Parker's situation, and now we got Macy and Abigail's situation. But regardless, I still feel like she probably kicks it more with the demons. Maybe the demons didn't know about her witch side until it came out, or I don't know. Because he was like, it's you, so it's like, oh, like he knew she was the Overlord, or at least the heir to the Overlord, or which makes her the Overlord. But it's like, what is that all about though? Like, what does it all mean? Like I said, my mind is like, okay, so what if fake Harry is looking for a bride? Like maybe this is some like destiny thing of like, oh, he needs someone who's half witch, half demon to be his bride, and he picked those two. Or maybe there's others out there. So it's like the fact is he's taking an interest in him. Like he's trying to seduce Macy. So it's like there's something there. But if she's the Overlord, why would he go after her too? Like you would think, well, because that doesn't necessarily mean the other Harry is a demon necessarily. I mean, there's still so many mysteries about that. It's like, why do you look like Harry? I mean, is Harry significant in some shape or form? Like, was his soul like ripped into two parts? Like, it, could Harry's entire memories of his original life actually be a lie or something? Like, could he actually not actually have any memories? Could he be based on, like, maybe the real Harry did die, but maybe they were like, oh, this Harry was an honorable man, so we'll make, not less, well, I was about to say, not unless we end up finding the twist that he's actually Harry's twin brother or something like that. Like, that ends up being like, one is, we might have a similar situation. I keep always bringing it back to Kingdom Hearts. I'm so sorry, because it's the one thing that kind of comes to my mind. Well, I guess one way would be the whole Ventus and Vanitas thing. One is all pure light, Ventus. One's all pure darkness, Vanitas. What if we kind of also, Cloak and Dagger situation, which I sadly recently found out that got canceled, and I'm super bummed about that. But what if it's a similar situation in that regard, where it's kind of like an O'Reilly situation with the whole mayhem? There's Bridget, there's O'Reilly, and then there was mayhem. So maybe it's a similar situation, and using those two examples. So maybe it's something like that. I didn't even think about that till then. So I don't know. Maybe maybe this is kind of on the Kingdom Hearts lane. Maybe this is about forging the ultimate power or weapon or something, or giving birth to like something new. So Harry being the pure darkness mixed with a witch / demon, maybe it'll create, CW-wise, maybe kind of something similar to a Tribrid, just something that doesn't exist, something more powerful than anything else, kind of like what Hope represents, and like, the legacies / the Vampire Diaries universe in general, So I'm curious, like, there's many different paths they could go down with this whole situation, so I'm curious to see what that ends up being. I do like that we are diving heavy into like her demon side of things being so plot heavy this season. I mean, it was very plot heavy last one because that was unveiling, but now it's been unveiled, and obviously once again she is the only one with power, so it benefits her to be part demon. So I'm so excited to see ultimately where things kind of go on that front. Like I said, I feel like we're not done with the whole Jordan thing. I'm curious like how that's going to tie more into Maggie's story. Maybe that's just going to be kind of like part of her story, of just growing, of realizing like, oh, your actions have consequences, especially when you use magic. So I feel like that never came, well, it came up a little bit last season, but I feel like it was never as, I feel like the other, like in the original series, they definitely had to have that drilled into them a lot, of like, don't use magic for personal gain. Like I feel like Harry's brought it up a couple of times and it's come up before, and there were examples of them using it for personal gain last season, but I don't know, maybe that's something they'll have to kind of be like, all right, when we use magic for, I mean, granted, it was still for personal gain, but at the same time, it was so they could get access to the command center, regardless. And once again, why was that demon in particular hunting Abigail? Was it simply because she was a half-witch? It's like, oh, she's a half-breed, we need to get rid of her. Maybe didn't recognize who she was. I feel like she would have flexed if she was the Overlord. So, or like I was kind of thinking, maybe this isn't about making them the Overlord. So maybe it's like, whereas Macy became the Source last season, maybe she potentially could become the Overlord, or maybe he is in fact the Overlord. Like I said, my mind's 20 different places about where this potentially could go. So ultimately, have to wait and see. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.